South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says the widespread looting and violence that erupted last Friday was premeditated. He was visiting the KwaZulu-Natal province for the first time since the riots began. More than 110 people have been killed and 2,000 arrested in the country's worst unrest in decades. Days of protest have disrupted supply chains and led to food and fuel shortages in KwaZulu-Natal. Hundreds of supermarkets, small businesses and factories have been looted and set ablaze. The health department says it's been forced to temporarily close some vaccination centers. The unrest began when former President Jacob Zuma was jailed for contempt of court, but analysts say it was fueled by anger over poverty and unemployment that have worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Authorities say they've identified 12 suspects behind the riots, and President Ramaphosa has vowed to end the mayhem. To help us unpack this further, I'm joined by Mathekga from Johannesburg. He's a political analyst and the author of the book, When Zuma Goes. Thanks a lot for joining us. What is behind the unprecedented scale of violence and looting that we've witnessed in two of South Africa's largest provinces?
Well, the violence were triggered by instabilities within the ruling party, the African National Congress. The root cause of this is the tension that continued to exist within the party between the two main factions, one led by Mr. Zuma and his allies, and also Mr. Ramaphosa as well, who is battling to win control of the party from those that used to support President Jacob Zuma. It was triggered by that scuffle, by that tension with Mr. Zuma's incarceration. However, the level at which this escalated beyond Durban, going into Gauteng, in some pockets of the third province in Mpumalanga, although not to a greater intensity there, that I think it's about the situation on the ground in South Africa, the level of political disenchantment coupled with just the decline of legitimacy of the ruling political elites in South Africa within the ANC. The ruling principals who are unable to rein in, to convince or persuade the greater masses to desist from that. It is a broken politics that has actually brought us where we are.
Is it a wake-up call for South Africa? And what are the realities that both leaders and the people need to face?
It is quite a breaking point, but I do think there is also an opportunity here because South Africans, the broader voting population, trusted the ANC. And for the problem that originate from the skirmishes within the ANC to get to this point and affect the nation in this manner, I think it is going to get South Africans to reflect about the future that they might want to build. And I think that reflecting on that future will certainly affect the ANC's domination in the society. I'm of the view that an opportunity exists for South Africans, maybe to imagine the political future where the ANC is not a dominant force. Of course, the party will, on a medium term, remain quite a party that continues to be in government. But I think the domination, the way in which the party used to drive the narratives in the past, the way in which it captured the imagination of South Africans, I think this glaring failure within the ANC will get South Africans even losing more hope in this party. So it's a crisis, but there is a possibility that it might drive a major realignment, political realignment in the country with the ANC no longer that dominant force.
You've previously said the unrest is not just a political issue or security issue, but an economic one too. What can be done to address what you call the dehumanizing effect of poverty?
That's quite the point indeed, because it's very easy for the nation, especially quite easy for us analysts, quite easy for politicians to easily castigate those that are participating in this and easily declare them belligerent South Africans who are just out of order. That is not the point. As far as I'm concerned, there is just this underlying socio-economic condition that cannot be allowed to continue. So in order to de-escalate the socio-economic condition, we really need government that is more focused, less corrupt, and government that actually can address the needs of the people. I mean, if you look at the looting, the people who participated in this, they come from areas that are not areas that one has a dignity. They come from areas where if one is caught on television footages looting, it's not the worst thing that could happen, the dehumanizing effect that I was talking about. So in a long run, South Africans are going to realize that we just cannot continue with this parallel world, the other world doing well and the other world being in this squalor. We need to actually get rid of opportunities for this kind of disenchantment in the society.
Finally, before I let you go, are we likely to see more unrest in the future, and why?
There will always be opportunities. Even before this, you will have pockets of unrest here and there. 2008, some protests that took the shape of xenophobic violence. And the best way to deal with this is to build a more inclusive political system, not the one that just represents people, but the one that is sensitive, that is inclusive. If you don't do that, if people don't feel the system represent them, they will engage with the system in the manner that we have seen in the past few days in the country.
And of course, to be able to close the huge wealth gap between the 1%
Indeed.
and the 90-something% in South Africa. Thanks a lot, Mathekga from Johannesburg, a political analyst and the author of the book, When Zuma Goes. Thank you. And that's Africa Matters. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next week.